So, hello everyone. In today's video, we are going to be discussing about how to deploy an AI model, or in general, how to deploy everything. What are the different type of deployment that you can use? So, let's get started. So, what I guess is most of us are able to build AI models, train AI models, or make predictions out of it, or build a RAG or whatever, or build an application. So, what is the most important thing once you have completed your project, once you have built your application or software or a website or an AI model? So, the next step is to deploy it. So deployment is an important part of this journey. Most of the data scientist or an ML engineer or whatever role you are into, a full stack role or a front end developer or a back end developer or a software developer, most of the people that lack that one skill, it's deployment. That's why it's so highly paid. So what you have heard about deployment into development is DevOps, developers operations. We have something similar into AI industry too, that is known as MLOps. नाम सिर्फ डिफरेंट है, काम दोनों बिल्कुल सेम करते हैं. There are like one or two tools that somewhat different from DevOps. Rest all of them are same. So हम लोग इस चीज के ऊपर let's start with simple what type of deployments are there that you can use with your project. The first one is cloud level deployment, like AWS, Azure, GCP, IBM Cloud. You can use any of that to deploy your project. That's for that you need some like good level of technical knowledge of how cloud works, how deployment works on cloud, what are the different services offered by those cloud provider. For example, AWS provides some different sort of services, whereas GCP provides some different sort of services, completely different. You need to be like know how that platform works. More or less, the goal is to deploy your product, but what is the most cost efficient way? If you are building an AI algorithm, an AI model, the platform would be a bit different. The deployment stages would be different. If you are building a full stack web application, the deployment would be different into both of the or whatever different cloud platforms you are using. After that, the second one that I love the most is serverless deployment. हम इस पर भी बात करेंगे आगे कि क्या होता है serverless deployment. For now, let's hold that कि हम आपका second होता है serverless deployment. After serverless deployment, the third one is your enterprises usually uses. They like have that hardware, the server hardware on premises, that is way costly. That one-time investment is too high. Then you need to hire a team, or you yourself need to manage the server yourself. That's like a hectic task to do. But yeah, overall, if you are like too much concerned about the privacy, you do not want your data to go towards AWS or GCP or IBM Cloud or Azure whatsoever, you can have your own server on premises and deploy your application over there. Fourth one is that usually people don't talk about is that is edge computing. The software is deployed on the device where it need to be like run. आपको फोन में जैसे आप the real life example would be you have Google keyboard on your phone. On Google keyboard, what happens is whatever you type, it automatically gets trained on that data. And for training, it doesn't share that data to the cloud server or the Google server. It trains on that device. We also have something called federated learning into it. But for now, that's what edge computing is. So this is like four type of deployment that's usually used in the industry. With my experience, I have experience with like cloud-based deployment. The company I'm working with, we do usually, it's a startup, we usually do cloud-based deployment over there. The last company that I worked with was a big, like it was a startup, but it was a Series C startup. So we have our own server on premises over there. So privacy concerns. The third one, the most interesting one that I love, if you are a freelancer or if you have just started out your career and you do not have so much funds that you could get EC2 machine or a virtual machine, you can go with a serverless architecture. So let's discuss what a serverless architecture is. I hope you know what a cloud architecture is, what on-premises architecture is, and edge computing is nothing. You get deployed your application over to the device where it needs to be run. But serverless is something interesting. When you rent a EC2 machine or a virtual machine, what happens is you have to pay hourly whenever the machine is on. So if you have deployed your application over there, that machine needs to be on 24/7 so that your users could use that. Whereas in serverless architecture, what happens is the machine will only initiate or activate when someone gets a request. For example, you have built an LLM, for example, and you don't want the machine to be, because when you're working with AI models, you need to have GPUs, and GPUs are, even though you are renting it, they cost so high. So what we can go with, the GPU only activates when someone hits a request. So that's what serverless architecture is. Most of the startups which are dealing with AI, usually most of the startups which do not have so much of funds to allocate, they starts with serverless architecture. In serverless architecture, for example, I deployed my LLM model, for example, Llama 7 billion parameters model, and whenever someone gets a query, then only the GPU will be activated. Until then, no GPU will be used, and you will not be costed, like you will not have to pay for that. The only problem with serverless architecture is whenever it takes some time to start. I think it's known as cooldown time or cool start time, if I'm not wrong. So उसमें time लगता है. Rest everything is fine. Serverless architecture is great. So why we are talking about all this? The main reason why you should know like this deployment process. If you see into most of the job profiles right now, I'm not sure about like development profiles, but for AI and data scientist roles, ML engineers role, there is a requirement of MLOps. MLOps is nothing different than DevOps. DevOps and MLOps are nearly same. Apart from one or two tools, in MLOps we have DVC, data version control. In DevOps we have Git and GitHub, if you know. तो इससे हम लोग अपने डिप्लॉयमेंट भी खुद ही कर सकते हैं. And we'll be having a completely different lecture on what MLOps are, what are the different cycles, like what are the operations, how you deploy it in whatever you are using, edge computing, serverless architecture, on-premises server, or a cloud computer. You will be having the same set of tools used in any of these. Apart from edge computing, you will be having all the same tools for MLOps and DevOps. So we'll be discussing that in next video. For this video, we have discussed these four, and you can go with any of these. And a bonus tip, my personal favorite, what I do when I want to deploy some ML models or a full stack ML application, as if I cannot afford more than 10,000 or 20,000 rupees monthly for a server cost. So what we can do, we as a like fresher and we want to test our application, what we can do, there are several platforms like Hugging Face Spaces. It's like it's a service, cloud-based service architecture where you can deploy your applications which are based on Hugging Faces and use those applications. I think Hugging Faces gives you 5 minutes of like daily inference of that time. Like you can have 5 minutes of compute time. It sounds less, but yeah, a single query doesn't take, if it's not a big query, it doesn't take more than 30 to 40 seconds of that. So that's what you can use. But what I would be doing is I will be deploying my front end on a front end, back end, and a database on Amazon free tier or Google free tier. And we can use RDS if you are going with, I have better experience with Amazon Web Services. So AWS, I will be using RDS and EC2. If not EC2, we will go with Lambda service of Amazon and deploy a front end and back end over there. And for the front end, we can use S3, and for the storage, we can also use S3 for the storage too. So these are the services that we can use for AWS and for the cloud computing part. Most importantly, where the AI model will be computing all those calculating. We can use Hugging Faces or similar any application which provides some amount of free service to you. With all this architecture, you can deploy your first AI algorithm to the real world. So this is what a bonus tip was. And let me know in the comment section अगर आपको कुछ confusion है,